Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeffy Cayman. Thank you for joining us for today's press briefing on the new Cayman Brac High School project, an initiative that has sparked great interest across our community. A warm welcome to my colleagues in the media who are joining us here today and those joining via Zoom. I'd also like to acknowledge everyone tuning in online. We're glad that you can join us. Today, we're joined by the Honorable Ralston Anglin, Minister for Education and Training, and Mr. Garth Arch, Managing Director of Arch and Godfrey. They'll be sharing updates and insights for the project. We will be taking your questions a little later on. For those who are online, please feel free to type your questions into the chat, and we'll do our best to address them before we close. To get us started, I'm pleased to invite Minister Anglin to share his remarks. He'll be followed by Mr. Arch. Minister Anglin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ebanks. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I wish to provide an important update on the Cayman Brac High School project and the decision we as a government are making to deliver both value and vision. Since my appointment as Minister of Education and Training in May, I have focused on ensuring the projects are managed responsibly and deliver real benefits to our people. One such project is, of course, Cayman Brac High School. The need for a new high school in Cayman Brac has long been recognized. Recent discoveries of asbestos containing materials in sections of existing facility has made the case for a new campus even more urgent. At the same time, with project costs approaching $59 million and a history of escalating costs across all government projects, I deemed it my duty to review how best to ensure this project could be delivered in a fiscally responsible manner. Having met with the contractors, a joint venture company between McAlpine, Arch, and Godfrey, we consulted with the project team, visited the site to see the project firsthand. I sought to receive Cabinet's approval for a revised scope of works that is expected to result in approximately $6 million in savings. The revised scope will streamline the project while ensuring that 4 facilities remain functional. More specifically, we will not be proceeding with construction of covered walkways linking bus stop drop-off to the main school building and the central school entrance walkway. In addition, we will forego the development of the gymnasium building. Instead, indoor physical education classes and large school examinations will be accommodated in the existing multipurpose hall and other suitable spaces. By doing so, we are ensuring the continuity for students and teachers while keeping the project on track, protecting public funds. Let me be clear, this is not about cutting corners. It is about balancing ambition with accountability, delivering a modern and sustainable school while exercising fiscal prudence that our people rightly expect. We recognize that this adjustment will incur costs, including those associated with contract and design modifications. However, these costs are anticipated to be minimal relative to the overall savings. Our government remains firmly committed to strengthening education across the Cayman Islands. By making careful choices today, we are safeguarding public resources, investing in safer schools, and building resilient communities. Most importantly, we are ensuring that young people in Cayman Brac will have a school that serves them well for generations to come. With that, I'll invite Mr. Garth Arch, Managing Director of McAlpine, to offer a few remarks.
Thank you, Minister. Good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be invited to participate in this press briefing. I just would like to state that I'm representing both Arch and Godfrey and McAlpine on behalf of McAlpine's Managing Director, Mr. Russell Day. I would like the public to know that the joint venture of Arch and Godfrey McAlpine were fully committed to completing the works in line with the agreed scope, timelines, quality standards. I would also like to mention that over the past 18 months, we've had many individuals who have worked very hard, put in a lot of effort on the joint venture team, in addition to the ministry team, and I want to publicly thank them for their efforts. In addition, we have been very pleased with how our team have integrated into the Cayman Brac community. And I would like to also thank people of Cayman Brac for their support and help during this process. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Before we get started with the questions, I want to take the opportunity to acknowledge other dignitaries who are in the studio with us in case members of the media or the public have questions. Joining us is Chief Officer Satonia Cacho, Deputy Chief Officer Jerome McCoy, Acting Deputy Chief Officer Elroy Ryan Watler. Also joining us are members of the media, as you would expect. For the question and answer, we're going to propose a list of members of the media to go in order. So we ask that members of the media take their place after each other. The list will be Ralph Lewis, representing Caymanian Times, Wendy Ledger, Cayman News Service, Miss Sabrina Turner, Cayman Marl Road, Sarah Bridge, Cayman Compass, and finally myself for Radio Cayman. With that being said, Sir Lewis.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting us. Yeah, a few brief questions. The first one for the staff. So, can you give us an idea of the progress to date in the project?
Yes, I certainly can. We're very pleased with the progress. Just last week, we started working on the roof already. We have a very aggressive schedule. We've been tasked with completing this project school for the next school year. And so we've been working very hard, and we're on track to completing the school Q2 next year, more or less. Yeah.
So that's about in April,
I would say more May, June.
May, June. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Anglin, what is the response from the community when you visited Cayman Brac regarding the new project?
I think that the response, I would say, mixed. Everyone recognizes actually needed in its soul. Let's blunt the basis and be very clear. It has been requested by this project because there are those, of course, in Cayman where we're subscribed at John Gray High School, basically at capacity, and looking on and saying, why this cost when we have 107 students? And those are very, very fair questions. The Brac community deserve very best, like all Caymanian children. All Caymanian children deserve to be in the very best educational facilities. What I can commit to is that going forward, our projects under this administration are going to be sensible projects. All we have to do is look at modern school buildings like Cayman International School, Cayman Prep, look at all just built syndications. When we construct, we should be construct safety and ensuring the buildings are functional so the teachers can have space to deliver high quality teaching and learning. And being fiscally responsible around that is what is most important. But overall, the Brac community, of course, is welcoming the project, but there are members of the community over there who have that bittersweet feeling as they know it has been charged, politically charged project.
Okay, one final question. I know that some families have chosen to move to Cayman Brac with their their children for schooling. Would it be something you would recommend to other families who are able to do that?
Well, I mean, I know a couple myself who moved after pandemic. In fact, I saw one of them over there just when we were up for cabinet last Friday and celebrating our 100-day days in office. The school's capacity can accommodate additional students than the 177. However, I'm not going to say that I'll be recommending that because the fact is this administration is going to be looking at a third high school in Grand Cayman. That's going to be part of the SPS process because with the population and the projected growth, we simply need an additional public high school in Grand Cayman.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Ms. Ledger, Cayman News Service.
Thanks, Jovi. Good morning, gentlemen. I'm going to be really quick. First of all, Mr. Arch, are your staff and the McAlpine workers all staying in the government's accommodation building? And if so, are you paying anything for that?
We're currently waiting for the final sign off for the accommodation block. And as soon as that occurs, we will be moving staff members into the accommodation. Also would like to note that we haven't peaked the staff requirements for this project. We're about 70 to 75 operatives, and it's going to peak to about 160. So we will be utilizing those facilities as soon as possible.
And will you be paying anything, or is it?
No, the contract was agreed that those accommodation will be provided within the scope of the contract.
The next question I have for you is regarding, we understand, I don't know the full details of it, but there was a lot of speculation and rumor and talk about there being some substantial problems in the early stages of the development of this school, particularly in relation to the foundations and that there was extra money spent there. Can you explain what happened, if anything happened, and whether it's been resolved or not?
Yes, when we got on site, we found some large soil areas that we had to rectify, which caused us a slight delay in the project. But it has all been resolved at this particular time, and we of course, like you've heard, we're now installing the roof on the project.
Okay, thank you. Minister Anglin, you've obviously got some experience with this, like coming in and having to relook at a project. There were quite a lot.
Very true, Andy.
There were quite a lot of problems last time, and I think you'd be the first to admit that it actually did cost quite a lot to make the changes as well. How confident are you that this sort of cut to the price won't actually end up being more expensive in the end because of other things that might spin out as a result of unforeseen circumstances?
And when it comes to construction and having the experience of 16 years ago, nothing is going to really surprise me. What I can say is I have a lot of confidence in the team at McAlpine and Arch and Godfrey that they certainly are going to do their best to keep costs under control. But more specifically to your question, one of the things that we had to look at very carefully was what sort of savings could be had, because there was a real demand from the public generally for accountability to get value for money. And so some people may ask, well, if you're looking and projecting $6 million, why would you cut anyway? My answer to that is quite simple. If you can save $6 million on any project, including the Cayman Brac High School, that's an additional school building that we potentially could deliver at Aidan Moyle High School, Sir John Cumber primary school rather. That's a lot of money that could add additional facilities to some other public school to serve more children. And the second piece to that is we're confident that given the hall that exists in the Brac already, which does need to be completed, that we be clear about that hall needs to be completed to be fully functional. That hall is going to be able to be utilized by the school. It's in close proximity to the school. And so to me, it just made sense to make this move because we weren't going to be, quote unquote, taking away anything from the education, physical ed, or otherwise for our students that could not be accommodated right there in that general vicinity.
It's pretty close by, isn't it? The
Last question.
yeah, oh, right. Okay, sorry. I'm going to merge them. Just to clarify, you said it's 177, but it's got a bigger capacity. What would the maximum capacity be for that school in case the Brac does begin to grow in terms of, numbers of kids?
Wendy, can we provide the specific answer
Yep.
to that in writing for you?
Yeah, sure. And
You're getting it.
this is the final one. The West Bay School, when you said there's going to be a third high school, a third government high school on Grand Cayman, is that going to be in West Bay? And have you sort of looked at where you think you'd like that to be? I know you say it's going to be in the SPS, but
So as most would know, we broke ground and had Bill delivered to Watford of Vin Dubuque Smith High School
Yeah.
in West Bay, just opposite the Ed Bush Stadium. There are challenges with that site. However, we are going to start there. That still is the first option because of other facilities that's in that area. Close proximity to Sir John Cumber Primary School. And in addition, we're going to be making some announcements around some other land acquisitions in West Bay that could have potentially positive impact on how we are able to accommodate additional education facilities in that area. There's a lot of public right, remember, but land is contiguous from John Cumber Primary Site onto what would be the Jimmy Howell Cricket Oval and the Eula Smith High School site.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just comment. With regard to value for money, I just wanted to let the public know that prior to signing the contract, we were involved with a very comprehensive value engineering exercise, and we were able to reduce the cost of the school by over $7 million.
7, did you say?
7, yes.
But that was presumably factored into the contract in the end in any event.
In the end, yes.
Yeah. Okay, great.
But I just wanted to know that that was done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ledger. We now have Mrs. Sabrina Turner, who came on our.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Can you address allegations regarding construction workers not being compensated for sick leave?
But Sabrina, I'm not aware of this, and unfortunately I cannot comment at this time. But I will investigate it. Get back to you.
Thank you. Has the government heard or is aware of the allegations of persons on the site holding work permits as carpenters and masons, but are actually working in supervisory capacities?
No, that's the first I'm hearing that. But again, something that we will have to look into, and we'll do it in an open way with Mr. Arch and his team.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Final question. Has the government or heard or is aware of allegations about outright mistreatment of staff on that site?
No, that I've never heard. This is the first time I'm hearing that.
And I've never heard any of this as well.
Okay. Thank you. That concludes my question.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. We'll now go to Sarah Bridge, representing Cayman Campus. Sorry, I think we're having a slight difficulty hearing Miss Sarah. I'm going to ask Miss Sarah to just start again.
Hello, sorry, can you hear me okay or not? I can always put my question
Yes.
into chat if not.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. I just have 2 questions for Minister Anglin. How difficult was it for you to balance the different demands of this project with your kind of dual role as Minister of Finance and Minister of Education? And how confident are you that costs will not escalate further during the life of this project? Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for the questions. Obviously, from my perspective, having inherited high school project in the past, and just looking on and knowing the limited resources we have and trying to balance just within my own hunches, cost per student, and knowing that we have such great need here in Grand Cayman. However, the fact is twofold. One, there was multiple millions of dollars already in the ground. So I take view that certainly government couldn't just stop the project, cut the project. There's a lot of people were calling for that. Members of the public, I should say. I got many WhatsApp messages and calls just after getting sworn in, with people having that as their feeling, people from Grand Cayman. However, when I looked on and I saw the progress, how much had been spent, certain materials had been already pre-purchased on site, that made my decision relatively easy from a Minister of Finance perspective, because I just couldn't come to the public, say we were going to leave that money in the ground. Some people would then ask, well, why did you just reduce the scope of the project to more closely match the student population, because there is a decent amount of growth in there, projected growth. I just don't remember the exact number, over the 177 student population at present. And for me, that question was answered with prior experience, but just asking it again of the project team. When you have a contractual obligation in the place, just as delay claims, doing any re-engineering, having to go back to the building control unit, I knew from prior experience that whatever savings you might have got, more than likely would have costed you more in the end in any event. And so we had to just be balanced I had to be balanced in my position, balancing both hats and recognizing that ultimately this was about ensuring all Caymanian children have access to high quality facilities, whilst ensuring save as much money as possible. This became the obvious choice today. The team and cabinet approved that approach. And let me also acknowledge that Minister DaCosta also was involved in the process, and his one mission was ensuring that Cayman Brac got the facility that it deserves, whilst recognizing my view and the minister's view as it related to achieving any savings. Future costs, we're just going to do our very, very best. We're certainly not, from a minister standpoint, going to go design changes, etc., that would impact costs. But other than some big natural disaster or unforeseen event, I'm confident the team at McAlpine and Arch and Godfrey are going to be able to run the project and deliver it the price that they're project.
Thank you.
Is there any more questions?
That's good for me. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few questions, but before I get into them, Minister Anglin, earlier in response to another member of the media, I think you said Edna Moyle High School. Was that a slip of the tongue, or are you indicating that these were in the primary school? Okay, I just wanted to make sure I get that. You mentioned earlier no covered walkways, no gymnasiums, and some of the changes that have been made to the project. For persons who may not be fully cognizant of the specificities of the project, can you share a little bit more insight into that? Why is that decision taken? Specifically about the no cover walkways, I think we can all agree that, Cayman sun is hotter and Cayman Brac sun is hotter.
But I mean, I'll ask Mr. Arch to cover, that piece of it in terms of that isn't going to necessarily have any huge negative effect on children. A lot of the covered walkways was going to connect gymnasium to the school. And so getting rid of the gymnasium meant you didn't have to then have the connectivity between the two, building. But as it relates to the gymnasium, let me be clear, there is another facility on the Brac that is part of the overall sports complex that's next to the high school. And so we're committed to ensuring we complete that building. In fact, right now, the project team, I think, still is using a part of that building.
Yes, we are.
So it's a building that's pretty much complete. It's just some interior works on flooring, etc., that needs to be done. So we're confident that we'll be able to have that in the near future available to children, to students of the new Cayman Brac High School. The other bit that I think is particularly important, and that is that I'm not quite sure, and I've been asked this question, and I certainly can answer it from my perspective. There is no intention of renaming high school in Cayman Brac. A lot of people have asked me, well, why are you referring to it as the Cayman Brac High School? From my perspective, I'm not referring it to the Lehman Scott High School until it's completed and we can put that sign out there and properly recognize it as that building or as that school. But certainly there's no intention from the minister's perspective to change the name of the school.
Mr. Arch, did you say something?
Yeah, I would just like to add that the gymnasium is connected to the school, but it is actually a separate building. And so it is also under a separate building permit. So from a strategic point of view, in order not to affect the progress of the school itself, it would make sense to remove the gym from the project.
So you brought up building permits. That was one of my next questions. You usually see that once the constructed, you need requisite permits and building occupancy certificate, etc. Can you speak to what transition you like? Kind of public expect a delay between your estimated completion of Q2 2026 before people are able to move in? Will there be a delay in that period?
Well, our hope is that the planning and building control would work with us because the school is on a separate permit, that we could continue on that permit, constructing the school while revising the gym drawings and resubmitting for a variance on the planning submission for that particular section of the project.
Can you share more, Mr. Arch, with the public about team that is working on the project? You mentioned 75, I think, earlier with a maximum 160. Can you give some indication as to how many Caymanians are working on that project, or how many young persons, Caymanians, that are receiving training, on-the-job training project?
Sure. I mean, we've been working with the various processes here, like Michael Miles. I think it's Mr. Michael Miles. His school, we have an individual from there over in the Brac school that's doing training. We have young Caymanians who have left Grand Cayman to go over there to work. We have had an employment fair to attract as many Cayman Brackers as possible to work on the project. So every opportunity that we can, we're encouraging and hiring Caymanians and Cayman Brackers.
Thank you for that. Minister Anglin, you mentioned earlier that there can be some expected change to cost when, your changes to construction plans. Are you able to be a bit more specific about what those cost changes may be?
Well, Jim, thank you for that question. I mean, let me repeat. We're estimating at this point, we're going to say it's $6 million. So the team obviously has to drive forward. And as Mr. Archer just said, obviously it's by being a separate building. And that let me underpin that point. Given how the project is designed, it provided the most strategic way in which we could reduce costs. People will then say, well, why didn't we just redesign inside of the building? Mr. Arch can tell you, once you start going into redesign and re-engineering inside a building, you got to get new building permits. All of a sudden, you have delays and there are delay claims within a project because quite rightly, the joint venture has 75 men. They can't go from 75 to 0 at no cost to them. Part of the contract would be government would have to pay that price. And so we're looking at saving around $6 million. We think that that's a good savings for the people of the Cayman Islands. That would be a net new building or something else within the realm of education because we know that there are a number of primary schools on Grand Cayman that do need additional classroom buildings because of the growth in student population. But just quickly, just reverting back to Ms. Ledger's question, the max capacity of the school once completed is 336.
Final question for you, Mr. Anglin. You represent the government's position in this project and getting it forward. Can you speak about your parliamentary colleagues on the opposite side, in specific, your predecessor who initiated the project? Do the changes that your government has made, is the opposition in support? Do you have cross aisle support on this?
No, I can't tell you what their position is. I take the view with the projects like this, there's lots of sentimental value and a lot of people are going to have personal attachments. When it comes to public finances, my view is very, very simple. We have to ensure that we're fiscally responsible. And as part of my mandate as Minister of Finance, I have to look for real savings. This looks like a savings that could be achieved without compromising the actual delivery of education. And so for me, anyone that doesn't support that, they'll have to explain to the public why.
Thank you, Mr. Anglin. I'm just going to double check in the room with the members of the media if there are any final questions, or those online if they had any final questions. I see no hands raised. That before we wrap up, I just want to thank Minister Anglin and Mr. Arch for joining us today. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Have a great day.